What's going on in Chicago Bears news and rumors this week? We'll discuss some of the top Chicago Bears stories and give our opinions on if these things are actual news or just senseless noise in this episode of the Hallis Huddle.
These news and noise episodes are our favorite to do. We love debating. We don't always agree, and these come out in these episodes. So we want you to play along, comment along, topic by topic. Let us know what you think, and we're excited to hear your opinions.
All right, we're going to start it off, Bob, with what I think is the biggest story from the week, which is that the Bears gave Ryan Poles, the GM, an extension through the year 2029. So that is major news, and the fact that he's being extended that long, it's lining him up with Ben Johnson and some of the rest of this young personnel. What do you think? News or noise? Ryan Poles has earned this extension.
I'm going to say news, and this surprises me a little bit because one of my mantras is you have to wait to see it, and obviously Ryan Poles' career record to this point maybe isn't necessarily indicative of a contract extension, but you look at everything he has done. He has turned over this entire roster. He's got what we believe is be a true, real franchise quarterback. He's got one of the elite offensive play callers to come in and work with this hopefully elitely talented young quarterback. Weapons on the outside and tight end are as good as they can be. I know maybe the ESPN article we delved into last week doesn't necessarily agree with that, but there is talent everywhere. Offensive line, the defense, maybe not truly elite players in a lot of places, but there's depth throughout. And so you've taken this roster that was in disarray, salary cap issues, no draft capital, just aging veterans on bad deals, and turn it into what is right now a young team primed for a run with, or I should say a window. There's a window of opportunity here with your young offensive play calling head coach who's also through 2029. So I think that he has set himself up to be like, I want to be here with this head coach. It's in everyone's best interest to be here with Ben Johnson. We're going to see this out together. And I think maybe the biggest part of this is that I'm assuming Ben Johnson signed off on this, right? I know the way the organization chart really looks with Warren, Poles, Ben Johnson, but Ben Johnson makes more than Warren and Poles combined, right? So he's got to have some say in this. So it makes me feel really good that to this point in the offseason, Ben Johnson saying, yeah, this is a guy that I want to work with.
Yeah, your last point there might actually be your strongest point, but I'm going to actually go noise on this, and I'm going to take a similar path, actually. So if you go back a little while, before the Bears hired Ben Johnson, one of the things we debated on this show was having Ryan Poles do the search, and he's kind of a lame duck general manager in a sense, with a bad track record as far as record and things like that over his tenure. Was it a bad idea to have him as part of the search when a candidate like Ben Johnson might look at this like, hey, I want to bring in my own guy? So up until that search, the Bears, I don't think, thought he had earned an extension. Otherwise, they would have given him that extension to make it a more attractive landing spot to coaches. Now, it may be that they wanted Ben Johnson to feel it out and find out if he was comfortable, and that's why the timing of this happened when it did. But to me, if he hadn't earned it coming into this season, and now all that's happened since then is the hiring of Ben Johnson, which we all think is a right hire, why not just see what 1 year looks like before offering him this extension? In the end, I mean, I am more pro Ryan Poles. He's had some blunders, just like you would expect anyone in a position like his to have. But like you said, the position the team was in when he came, the cap situation they were in compared to where it is now, the attractiveness of this spot, I do think he's a good GM. So I'm glad he'll be with us. I just don't know what has changed from the end of last season to now that would make you change your mind rather than wait to see a year's worth of results. We talked about if they were to flub this year, would he be on the hot seat? Well, now you've extended him. So what if they do? He's clearly not on the hot seat then.
So I think to that point, if this is a complete failure and you have to move on from Ryan Poles, I think just contracting the franchise is probably the way to go. If this is a failure, they're all in, all the cards on the table, everything, all the eggs in one basket. If this is a failure, I think they're looking for a new expansion team to replace
the
Bears.
London Bears. All
All
right.
right.
Let's move. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, last week we went through ESPN's positional ranks of the defensive tackle, and our guy Jervon Dexter left off completely, not even honorable mention, where Jalen Carter was top 3. This list that we're going to talk about today is quarterbacks, and two players that we've been pitting against each other this whole time, Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, similar situation. Jaden Daniels, number 5 quarterback in the NFL. Caleb Williams, not even an honorable mention. So, news or noise, Caleb Williams can be top 5 next year.
All right. I'm going to go news on this, Bob. And Hallis Huddlers, we're going to come up with an episode pretty soon here where we talk about where Caleb Williams is at compared to other quarterbacks and where we think he is headed. I think the criticism on Caleb Williams has been far too great. And this list is a great example. This was not like Joe Schmo's, fan voting or anything. This was insiders in the NFL. And the fact that he wasn't in the top 10 as only 1 year under his belt, I get it. The fact that Jaden Daniels he had a historic season as a rookie. But Caleb Williams wasn't even in honorable mention. He wasn't even in others receiving votes. So I do think that people might be sleeping on him a little this year. He put up solid rookie numbers in a dumpster fire of a situation. Now I believe he's in a far better situation. And a lot of guys do take a leap from year 1 to year 2, even if their situation stays the same. So I think we are going to see a big jump up in Caleb Williams' numbers. I could see him entering the top 5. The only thing holding me back, I'll be honest, there's a lot of really good quarterbacks in the NFL. It's an exciting time, I think, in the NFL. So will I be disappointed if he's 7, if he's 8? Not at all. But can he be top 5? If everything goes well, he can.
So I'm actually going to double down here and say this is news. I think Caleb Williams can be top 5 next year on this list. I mean, I don't think Jaden Daniels is necessarily a top 5 quarterback in the NFL when you kind of weighed everything in. Like some of these names behind Jaden Daniels, Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts, right? These are, I think, traditionally guys you would think are better than just a rookie who had one great year. But on this list in particular, you're talking about it's really very reactive. Who was really good last year? And then let's just put them on this list. If Jaden Daniels regresses, is he still going to be top 5? Are these writers or these insiders going to be like, well, he was so good last year that, he must be. Another example of that is CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud was on number 8 on this list last year. And then you got a special mention as honorable mention this year, but off the list, off the top 10. So it really just takes 1 year to show what you're capable of doing. And then we know that we're the Chicago Bears. Everything that happens here is amplified. If Caleb Williams goes out and has a big year, jumps those stats into well above 4,000 yards passing, touchdowns approaching 30, get the QBR towards 60. And most importantly, there are wins in Chicago. Absolutely. Caleb Williams, we have the type of, cachet, the type of whatever it will to still be ranked higher than the Jared Goffs and Justin Herberts and Matthew Staffords of the world. Now, if Justin Herbert goes and wins a Super Bowl, maybe he's going to be vaulted into Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson type status. But that number 5 spot in the NFL is kind of a plateau behind these big 4 of Mahomes, Burrow, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. And number 5 is just going to be the next hot guy. And Caleb Williams can be the next hot guy.
So we both think that he can. And that kind of leads us into the next one here, because if he's able to collect some W's, he'll be doing so against some pretty good teams, at least projections of what these teams will be. Now, schedule makers, it is supposed to be based off your rankings. So they should be playing a last place schedule. But they're playing the NFC East, a notably challenging division, and they're playing the AFC North, another really strong division from top to bottom. So this one actually came from a Hallis Huddler. We appreciate the comments. Bob, I'm asking you, news or noise, the Bears' schedule will be the biggest challenge in 2025.
So, again, Philip, thank you for all the comments, everything you do for us at the Hallis Huddle here, but I am going to respectfully disagree. I think this is noise. I'm one of these that I understand the way the schedule could look on paper, right? But there's so many things that can change throughout the course of a year that the the opponents who might look tough now aren't going to look so tough later. And starting first and foremost with the Bears themselves, right? There's probably teams looking at the Bears on the schedule right now, 5-12, they're a bad team, but we know what this team is going to be capable of this year. And there's going to be, ebbs and flows to everything. There's really hardly any teams on this schedule that I don't think the Bears can't at least put up a fight against. Detroit, what were they, 15-2 last year, whatever the record was? The Bears competed with them twice, right? So, I mean, what can really change, year to year, where you're looking at those Lions games and think, oh man, we have no chance again, right? There's teams like Cincinnati. You're scared of their offense, but their defense is horrendous. So they're a Super Bowl contender who can be beaten in any given week. Philadelphia is on our schedule, and that's probably the one that you look at, wow, that's going to take a really big effort. That's going to be that's that Friday after Thanksgiving game, I think, at Philadelphia. Yeah, that's a tough one. But unless I'm just looking at this schedule a little wrong, there's just a lot of decent NFL teams, 17 decent NFL teams. And because we play in the NFC North, and like you said, those two divisions that we play, the NFC East, which is tough, and the AFC North, which is tough, we have really no garbage dumpster fire teams, right? Maybe Cleveland is probably the one that stands out the most. So I get from that point the bottom of our schedule, but it's the NFL. Anything can happen. If we're talking about what the biggest obstacle is, it's going to be the Bears themselves. Can they get themselves moving in the right direction regardless of opponent?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out a way to go news, but it's noise. And it's kind of like what you said. The league has done a good job of now having parity. They're still the top teams, and the Bears are playing a few of them. So I think that's what does make it stand out as this is a tough schedule. You're playing the Ravens, you're playing the Eagles, but like a team like the 49ers, like on paper, that sounds like a really tough game, but they regressed last year. They have a lot of question marks this year. They changed a team kind of in a way where they were doing a little salary dumping this past season. That's not even to mention when you catch a team with injuries and things like that. In fact, Bears week 1 at home on Monday night against the Vikings. Again, Vikings were a good team last year. I actually look at this as the Bears should feel very good about this. You're facing J.J. McCarthy in his first game in a hostile environment on primetime. Not that I love that this type of stuff comes into play, but Jordan Addison might be facing a suspension in week 1, possibly. And now you're getting rid of their second best offensive threat. So it is when you play teams and things like that. And to your point, with this all being new here in Chicago, their biggest focus should be on what they put out on the field each week. And you play who you play. You might catch a team at a good time. They might catch you at a bad time. Who knows? But any team looking at their schedule now and thinking they know exactly how it's going to play out, that's not the case. There's always teams. I mean, NFL, last to first happens quite often. We're hoping it does this year for the Bears. So I can't put too much stock in it. I do know there's a lot of compelling games on the schedule. I got the Commanders ones highlighted. I mean, there's some marquee matchups that are going to be fun to watch. But as to how they'll play out, that's what kickoff is for.
That's right. And again, Commanders came down to the wire too, right? So, I mean, all these games, the Bears can compete. All right. So our last question for you here also came from a Hallis Hudler on our last video about everything that could go wrong for the Bears. And this particular commenter, I think, doesn't see first-year struggles coming for Ben Johnson. So news or noise, Justin, this Ben Johnson assembled coaching staff is the best Bears coaching staff since the 1980s.
I'm gonna say news. And Hallis Hudlers who've been watching, Bob gave me a short the other day where he asked me start bench cut for some Bears coaches that were between the 80s and now, and it was not a good list. My fellow Bears fans, John Fox, Tressman, you got Nagy in there. I mean, let's be honest, it's been rough. It's been a rough 4 decades. Ben Johnson was the top coaching candidate in this cycle. He's been waiting for this opportunity. He brought in a former head coach as a defensive coordinator. Now let's go back to that 80s. You had Mike Ditka, you had Buddy Ryan. Buddy Ryan went on to be a head coach, but there were egos. They weren't even cohesive with one another. Now the product on the field was great, but some people say it was in spite of what was going on as a coaching staff. So I don't even know if I look at that 85 collection of coaches as, the top of the line, but certainly since then, I mean, I guess you got to throw some Lovey staffs in there, and maybe I should have thought about that a little harder. Will Ben Johnson and his crew be as good as peak Lovey? Maybe not. So maybe I missed out there, but the rest has been garbage, hot garbage. So I'll go news.
So I'm going to go noise more for the spirit of the episode. I absolutely could see this being news, but you look back at some of the coaching staffs that we've had, and first of all, let me start with we can't crown them the best until they do something, right? We can all believe there's the potential for the best. We can hope they're going to be the best. We can talk about all these stats, all this experience that they've had, that they could be. I'll grant you that they could be, but are they definitely? I don't know. You go back and just kind of say on paper, what did we think about that Lovie Smith head coach team when Mike Martz was the offensive coordinator, right? On paper, that looked like a pretty damn good coaching staff, right? But then we know the reality of it wasn't, as big as what those two should have been. I think you can even look at the Matt Nagy. I know that Matt Nagy's tenure wasn't that great, but what about his first year when he came in, clearly made an impact with Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator? That was the NFL Coach of the Year, Matt Nagy, and Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator. That was pretty good, and that had some success. Unfortunately, it wasn't sustainable success. I think the double doink clearly just broke Matt Nagy into a million different pieces, and he could never get his mind right again after that. So, I mean, those are just kind of two examples that come off right at the top of my head. They're like, all right, well, those are, at this point of the season, those were pretty good-looking coaching staffs. So why don't we just get towards, not even this season, because what if Ben Johnson is Coach of the Year? And then, it's probably 2 or 3 years down the line where we'll be able to really assess whether they're the best for the 80s. So I'll say news in terms of, is this coaching staff in contention for this title? I'll say sure, but noise in terms of actually crowning it already.
Bob is back with I don't believe it till I see it. I was wondering where that Bob went. So for me, the double doink was like the zap in Men in Black. Like it wiped my memory, I think, because you're right.
They should have done that for Matt Nagy. That should have.
Nagy,
I think that was honestly, he never recovered. He just never recovered from that.
Nagy Fangio, though, that's quite a tandem. Fangio's well respected for what he did, not so much as a head coach, but as a coordinator, he was bringing it. So good call on that one.
Yeah. So hey, this is fun. Like I said, these News and Noise episodes are some of our favorites to do. We love just talking, debating. Like if the cameras weren't on, we would still be having these conversations. So we love it. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed it too. Make sure you comment below. Let us know what you think, or just say, hey, how you guys doing? We'd be happy to have any conversation you want.
All right. That's it for now. Bear down, claws up.
Ready, break.